I thought about whether or not to make this video because it's not really video game related, but then I thought about all the G4TV related content that people were making a couple months ago and all the money that they were making from it, because those videos were popping off with views, and I was like, damn man, that should have been me. That should have been me making these videos. It should have been me making these views and getting this money, because I mean, it was an interesting topic of discussion, the whole Frosk situation, which we'll talk about a little later on in this video because it ties into everything. But I never really got around to doing it because I didn't really care about G4TV. G4TV, of course, started out in like the mid 2000s, and it was one of the things that was kind of new for video games. You didn't have really independent people being able to talk about video games like you do nowadays. Back then, it was much more controlled. If you were in a magazine publication, you weren't getting inside information and going to events and learning about new games. So during that time frame, during the cable TV time frame, when that was really your only option, G4TV was a nice thing. I never really watched it heavily or anything like that. I was familiar with like Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb because they used to do lots of stuff with GameStop TV. And at the time, I was working as an assistant manager at GameStop, so we would have the little DVDs that would play all the time, and it was kind of like a partnership sort of thing. And so I was familiar with them. I was familiar with their work. Did I like the work? Did I think it was anything revolutionary? No, but it was different. It was different because it gave you sort of a video game culture thing, which was something that didn't really exist during that time frame. Video games were kind of thought of as like, a third class, medium, a third class thing that nobody cared about. Oh, you're a video gamer? That's when you smack those people in the face and say, hey, yeah, I like video games. What's the point? Now, of course, in 2022, everyone and their mother plays video games, except for DJ Vlad. He seems to not really like video games, but I mean, he's the Fed, so who cares what he has to say? But G4TV announced that they were coming back. And I was kind of like, why? Why is G4TV coming back? A lot of people got excited for this. There was lots of hype and hoopla about it. And everyone was like, yeah, G4 is coming back. And it's like, okay. Okay. Some of the original cast members, such as Adam Sessler, who we haven't seen in quite a while, were coming back, and there was a general excitement for G4 coming back. And the whole time, I just sat there and thought to myself, why? Why are people excited for this? Yes, back in the day, this was a cool thing. It was a new thing. It was a different thing. But since then, we've had things like Twitch. We've had things like YouTube. We've had things like Justin TV. All these sorts of video streaming platforms that we have nowadays that allow you to make your own similar show. G4 obviously had a big budget when it came to their productions and stuff like that, but now a lot of YouTubers have a pretty big production. Everyone has an HD camera and some fancy editing effects. I mean, I have some fancy editing effects. I just don't know how to use them, but still, it seemed like a stupid decision to me because it's really just relying on that nostalgia. When you look sort of beyond that nostalgia, was G4TV even really that good back in the day? They were the only people in town, and then, we had this rise of the internet personality, the internet critic, who could do what G4 was doing without having a channel restriction, without having a restriction or an overseer of how you're going to convey this content. And, G4 was definitely marketed towards that, younger demographic, that younger male demographic, because at that time, that's what video games was sort of catering to. It wasn't really seen as a thing that your grandmother plays or your girlfriend plays or something like that. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rules. I'm not trying to pigeonhole people here, but for the most part, it was seen as a medium for young males, and that's just how it was. I think the games sort of reflect that as well. When you look at the styles of games that we got in the early 2000s versus what we're getting 20 years later, they're pretty drastic. There's a lot more games for a lot more people. It's a lot more of an inclusive thing and an encompassing thing and a welcoming thing, which I think is a good thing. But let's get back to G4, because like I said, I didn't understand why they were coming back. Then you have this lady, Frosk, who I don't know this lady from anywhere. Okay, I was not familiar with her. And then she made this unhinged rant talking about, we're not sexualizing women and everyone sexualizes women. And if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it and don't watch us. It's like this really unhinged, bizarre rant. And a lot of people were like, yeah, girl power, go girl. And I'm like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. There is a time and a place to do things like that. And I understand that women do face a lot more scrutiny online than men do, especially in the video game sphere. You know, there is sort of a misogynistic approach that comes with it. I make misogynistic jokes a lot, you know, that's just kind of my personality, but I make it with people that I know that they know that I'm kidding. And if they have a problem with something I say, you know, they can always just say, hey, you know, that was a little too much. I'm like, all right, you know, my bad. It's just, it's in a joking manner. It's in a joking tone. But when you're working for a major company and you say these sorts of things, you're going to be subject to backlash. And of course, there was a ton of backlash about it. There was a ton of hypocrisy surrounding it because of the fact that you have one of the main people of this channel telling people not to watch it, but you're still doing misogynistic things on your channel. You're still doing like weird hot dog throwing contests at women in bikinis and stuff like that. And it's like, practice what you preach. Like that's the whole problem I had with that situation, was the hypocrisy of it. If that's a hill that you want to stand on and a hill you want to fight for, be my guest. That's fine. You're allowed to have your own value system. You're allowed to have things that you think are, you know, good and things that you think are, you know, a little bit too much. I get that. But when your company that you are representing and working for are doing the same exact things that you are trying to speak out against, it looks extremely hypocritical. You know, not everything is done in a serious tone. Context matters in a lot of these things. And this Frosk lady just decided to go off the deep end. Ever since then, G4 has been, you know, looked at with kind of a bit of a stank eye. It's kind of like, oh, what are they doing over there? Trying to act, you know, all holier than thou. You can look at Adam Sessler's Twitter account, which just looks like a 50-year-old unhinged man on, I won't say that, but he looks like a 50-year-old unhinged man just rambling at the skies about every little thing. And it's like, well, this is kind of alienating. You know, you come to an internet personality to hear their views on topics that you're interested in. Obviously, anyone could talk about any sort of thing that they want, but don't be surprised if you have views about something or you say something about a sect of people, and then people of that sect that you talk about end up getting mad, and they end up, you know, not understanding why you're talking about things like this. But I say all this to say G4 is pretty much done. G4 is pretty much screwed. You know, the axe is coming down. And as of a few hours ago, you can see here, the home of X-Play and other shows on Twitch faces big cuts. G4TV hit with major layoffs less than a year after coming back. Who could have seen that coming? At least somewhere between 20 and 30 staff members were laid off at G4TV, according to 3 sources familiar with the business. The video game talk show network from the 2000s was resurrected last fall on streaming platforms like Twitch as well as cable TV, but now faces major upheaval less than a year later. I truly cannot imagine the company continuing to produce our slate of content without the people that we lost today. So this is something like I don't understand why it's a big surprise to people. I don't understand why this is a big shock to people. You know, obviously I'm not here to laugh at people for losing their jobs. I like some of the people at G4TV. I know some of the people at G4TV. I don't like some of the people at G4TV, but I don't want them to not be able to, you know, put food on their table or pay their rent or something like that. It's nothing that serious. I just don't like their opinions on things, and I don't like the way they present themselves online because they're kind of egotistical. But you don't want to see people lose their job, but it's kind of like, you have to imagine when these people signed up for G4TV, they couldn't have thought this was going to be a long-term thing. G4 actually canceled all of their content for today. Due to unforeseen circumstances, all G4 streams today have been canceled, but we will return with all of our regularly scheduled content tomorrow. Some people are very upset by this. Lots of industry people are talking out about it, saying, you know, oh, that sucks. And, you know, to an extent, I do think that sucks. Like I said, I don't want to see people lose their jobs. I don't want to see people lose their livelihoods over this situation, but I question what I talked about at the beginning of this video. What the hell was the point of bringing this back? Let's take a look at their YouTube channel, shall we? Because you would imagine that the G4TV YouTube channel has to be thriving. Yes, they do a lot of stuff on Twitch, but they also make YouTube content as well. So you would imagine that a large business with the name, the branding of G4TV would be pulling astronomical numbers in order to keep this large staff of people. Let's take a look at it together. Now, I'm not here to view shame anyone. I'm not here to make fun of anyone for views, but when I think of G4TV, I'm thinking of the people that I saw on cable television. I'm thinking about these people that have these huge studios and these huge budgets, and I look at these views and it's like, holy shit on a stick. Like, these numbers are not good. these numbers are not, they're not good numbers. Like, yes, I understand that there's other branches here, and we'll look at the other branches, but like, these are supposed to be your bread and butter shows. The Spawncast pulls better numbers than these. I pulled better numbers than these just streaming and talking, you know, smack with you guys on my live streams just on like a random Tuesday. Like, these are major events that they're covering, and it's bizarre to me. Let's take a look at X Play here, which this is a terrible idea. Having everything segmented is just very, very weird to me and doesn't make a lot of sense here. We have X Play. Let's see what's going on X Play. 490,000 subscribers, more subscribers than me. Some decent numbers here, but still, for me as an individual, looking at these numbers, I don't know, they don't upload all that frequently. You know, I could probably survive off this. I could probably do okay off this, but having a massive channel and a massive backing and a massive amount of budget, this is not numbers that the huge team can live off of. And they're doing lots of, you know, original content here and all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, where's the disconnect? You know, why do we think that we can rely on this branding that existed in the early 2000s, and we could ride this nostalgia wave back to prominence when the whole landscape has changed? The world has changed. You have to adapt or die. You have to be like a chameleon in real life. That was one of my nicknames, Cian the Chameleon. That's a deep cut there. If you understand the Cian the Chameleon and you could spell it right, you're cool. You're a real one. But you got to adapt to situations. You have to adapt to everything in life, whether it's a conversation with someone, whether it's, you know, adapting to a new job, a new place, a new lifestyle or something like that. You always have to adapt. You always have to grow, and you always have to rely on, you know, be satisfied with where you are, but always be thinking about your next move. And I don't think that that's what they did here. So Frosk, you got your wish, my dear. People stopped watching, and now people are losing their jobs. Major shout outs to all of those that have lost their jobs. I'm sorry. I hope you get back on your feet very quickly, and I hope, you know, everything goes well for you. It's a smooth transition into your new thing. But G4TV never needed to come back. It never needed to come back. It did not belong in 2021, 2022. And it was a stupid idea made by people who probably just wanted to make a buck off of nostalgia, to see how long they could ride out this wave. And I think the numbers prove it. I think the results end up proving that. Like, the world has changed, man. The world has changed, and people are constantly adapting to different styles of content and identifying with individuals and stuff like that. You don't need a huge TV set show to talk about something like video games. You could do that, but make sure you got the money to back it up. So G4TV, I don't care. I don't watch you. Like I said, I hope the people bounce back on their feet, but if G4TV just went away tomorrow and we never talked about it ever again, I don't care. I don't care. Maybe you care. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for checking out this video, and I'll see you. This video better get numbers, baby. Give me some of that money. Give me some of that G4TV money. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.